Hello everyone. So in this lecture we will be studying our new chapter, that is pressure vessels. Now if I talk about the pressure vessel, so pressure vessels or vessel is defined as closed cylinder, closed cylinder or sphere. So it can be either closed cylinder or closed sphere or spherical, or let me mention it. Okay, closed sphere, shaped shaped containers, container designed to store store fluid at a pressure substantially different from ambient pressure. Okay, now your pressure vessels can be classified into two portions based on their d by t ratios, where d is your diameter and t is the thickness of your vessel. Okay, now let me mention it here. So your pressure vessels now this can be classified into two parts. Okay, so let me mention them here. Now this is classified on the basis of your d by t ratio. Okay, d by t ratio. Okay, where d is diameter and t is thickness of your pressure vessel. Okay, now on the basis of your d by t ratio, it can be classified on your as your thin pressure vessels and thick pressure vessels. Okay, now in case of thin pressure vessels, your d by t ratio is greater than equal to 20. Somewhere it is mentioned at 15, somewhere is 10. Okay, but generally we use it as 20. Now for thick pressure vessels, d by t is less than equal to 20. Okay, now again if we further classify thin pressure vessels, so we can classify it as your cylindrical pressure vessel or spherical pressure vessels. Okay, so it is basically for both. Okay, so I can either classify it for thin or thick. For both, it is classified as your cylindrical pressure vessel and spherical pressure vessels. Okay, this is your cylindrical pressure vessels. Okay, and spherical pressure vessels. Okay, so these are our classifications for pressure vessels. Okay, so this is our pressure vessel classification. Now let's start your thin cylindrical vessels. Thin cylindrical cells, it is also like also known as your thin cylindrical pressure vessels. Now let's consider, if I talk about the stresses that will be acting on in case of your thin cylindrical cell. So there are three type of stresses acting on it. Okay, so let's me start with the stresses acting on thin cylindrical pressure vessels. Okay, so first one is your longitudinal stress, and it is also indicated by your sigma L. Okay, the second one is your hoop, or also known as your circumferential stress. Circumferential stress, that is your sigma H. Okay, and third type is your radial stress, or basically these three type of your stresses act in your all types of pressure vessels. Okay, now in this case of your thin pressure vessels, so what happen, your radial stress, its magnitude is very small. Magnitude, oh okay, I will mention it later. Okay, let's like write it here like this. Okay, now consider a pressure vessel such that, let's consider an cylindrical vessel. Let me draw it here. Okay, so let me draw it here. Okay, so let's say this is your thin pressure vessel. Okay, and it has your closed flat ends. Okay, and corresponding to this we have your the side profile. Let me draw it here. Okay, okay, and this is your side profile. Okay, so let me show it here. So your pressure P is acting inside. Okay, and let's say this pressure P is acting in your all directions. Okay, now the pressure vessel has the diameter capital D and thickness T. Okay, and let's say have the length. Okay, or let me mention it here. Okay, length L. Okay, and of course P can be also shown as here as pressure at in all directions. Okay, now if I want to show your longitudinal and hoop stress, so I can show it like this. So at any point your longitudinal stress if your internal stress, let's say, is pressure more than your external pressure, so your internal stress will sigma L will be shown like this. Okay, so this is your sigma L. Sorry about that. This is your sigma L. Okay, this is your longitudinal stress. Okay, and if we talk about the hoop stress, so it would be something like this. Okay, so this is your sigma H, that is your hoop stress. Sigma H. Okay, so longitudinal stress act in your direction of length, and your hoop stress act along your circumference also, because hence it is also known as a circumferential stress. Now if let's say I want to calculate your value of sigma L and sigma H. Okay, so let me start from here. So let's say I want to calculate hoop or circumferential stress. Now if I want to calculate hoop or circumferential stress sigma H, so what will I do? I require we generally acquire both these values using your force balance equation. Okay, so what we do, we split this cylinder along the longitudinal axis to find your sigma H. Okay, so let me draw its view here. So let's say this is how your spherical portion will look like. Okay, so this here represent your diameter D. Okay, and here is the thickness T of your vessel. Okay, now along this longitudinal line, so this is the direction of action of your sigma L. Okay, and your hoop stress will act in upward direction, like perpendicular to this plane. Okay, and this is sigma H. Similarly on this plane also there will be sigma H. Sigma H. Okay, and the length of this vessel is L. Okay, now there is also like pressure P inside. Okay, and that pressure will act all around the surface. Okay, now we can say that bursting force due to pressure. What will be bursting force? So bursting force will be, that is FB is equal to your pressure into area, and area must be your projected. Okay, so this will be equal to pressure P into D into L. This is the projected area, diameter into length. So this area here, let me show it here. So this area will be a projected area. So on average your net pressure force is acting on this area, and this force will be resisted by your material. Okay, and for that we can write that resisting force Fr is equal to hoop stress into area. Okay, and this area is resisting area basically. Okay, resisting area. Okay, so this stress is hoop na in upward direction, and the pressure is in the lower direction. So Fr is equal to, you can write, and here of course it is Fb, and Fr is equal to hoop stress is sigma h into your resisting area is, if you see here, so this will be T thickness into L length, T into L. Now there twice such area, 2 times such area, so 2TL. Okay, now for equilibrium, what will happen in case of equilibrium? Your Fb must be equal to Fr. Fb is equal to Fr. Okay, so I can write that pressure into dl is equal to sigma h into 2TL. Okay, so we will obtain sigma h is equal to PD by 2T, and this stress is here tensile in nature. Okay, sure. Now I can mention one point here, that since on plane of CH, plane on sigma h, there is a not any no shear stress present. Okay, so this okay, or I will mention it later. Okay, so first let's discuss your sigma L. Okay, so now your next point is, like we have discussed your hoop or circumferential stress, now we will discuss your longitudinal stress. Okay, so in case of your calculating your hoop stress, so we have like cutted this sphere in horizontal, from horizontal axis. Okay, now we will cut it from vertical axis, so it would look something like this, or let me like use it here only, okay, so this copy, okay, and so this will be something like this. Okay, now your sigma L stress is acting at both these free ends. Okay, and the pressure will be acting in this direction. Okay, so we can write your bursting force Fb is equal to pressure into area will be here pi by 4 d square. I hope you understood this point. Okay, similarly I can also write resisting force, that is Fr is equal to sigma L into, now this area will be in like here it will be in form of a circle. Okay, so it would be something like this, inner circle and outer circle, and this sigma will act along this plane. Okay, so since it is a thin pressure vessel, so I can write this circumference times of, that is pi d times of thickness, so this will be your resting area, pi dt. Okay, so I can say for equilibrium I can write Fb is equal to Fr, so I can write P into pi by 4 d square is equal to sigma L into pi dt. Okay, so from here I can write that sigma L is equal to PD by 4T. Okay, this is your longitudinal stress. Okay, so your hoop stress was PD by 2T and longitudinal stress is PD by 4T. So these two are your important relations here. Okay, sigma H and sigma L. Now from these 2 points, what I can mention? I can mention here that sigma L and sigma H are principal stresses. And why will it be so? Because there is no shear stress present on these planes where your longitudinal and hoop stresses are acting. Okay, I hope you understand this point. Okay, now I can also relate them as equal as your sigma H will be equal to 2 times of sigma L and is equal to PD by 2T. Okay, so this is your relation for your thin cylindrical pressure vessels. Okay, you should remember. Now third type of stress which I was mentioning earlier is your radial stress. Okay, now let's talk about the radial stress. So radial stress, and it is generally denoted by your sigma R. Okay, now in case of your thin cells, your sigma R is neglected and assumed to be zero. However, if we talk about sigma R value at inner surface is equal to your pressure of the fluid. Okay, and sigma R at outer surface is equal to your P atmosphere or P surrounding. Okay, so these are your actual values, but for all practical purposes it is assumed zero. Okay, so this is your relation between your hoop stress, longitudinal stress and radial stress. Now since there is a presence of your stress, so of course there will be your strain. Now let's talk about your strain in cylindrical cells. So let's start the next topic, that is strain in cylindrical cells. Okay, or not cells, in cell. Now of course, since there presence of your hoop stress and longitudinal strain, so there will be of course two type of strain which we will be studying here. First is your hoop strain. Okay, and since from the equation we know that hoop stress is more than that of your, so from here we can write that sigma H is greater than sigma L. Okay, so our hoop strain will be more than your longitudinal strain. So hoop strain is also known as your major principal strain. principal strain. Okay, and in, okay, let me move it here. And in similar way, if we talk about your longitudinal strain, longitudinal strain, okay, so this is also known as okay, sorry, this is also known as your minor principal strain. Minor principal strain. Now if I want to calculate these values, so let me first draw how your like arrangement would look like. Okay, so we know that for any section, if we consider any section here on your sphere, so its state of stress can be denoted at this. So let me draw it here. So let's say that this is a section we have considered. Okay, or for better, let's make it 3D. Okay, this is your 3D. Now let's join the ends. Okay, now if we talk about the stresses, so there is longitudinal stress sigma L. Okay, okay, there is hoop stress sigma H. Okay, okay, and of course there is a radial stress. Radial stress will be acting in this direction here. Okay, this is your sigma r and its value is equal to 0. Okay, so from here we can write that our hoop strain can be written as your major principal strain is equal to epsilon 1 is equal to epsilon h. Okay, epsilon 1 is equal to epsilon h, that is hoop strain, will be given by your hoop stress by E minus mu times of longitudinal stress by E. Okay, and of course since radial stress is 0, we have like left that term. Okay, so I can write that epsilon 1 or our epsilon h is equal to, if we substitute the values here, so this will be PD by 2T E. Okay, minus mu times of PD by 4T E. Okay, so we can write, if we solve this, so this will become, or I can write it in next line, that is epsilon h is equal to PD by 4TE times of 2 minus mu. Okay, this is your relation for hoop strain. Okay, okay, hoop strain relation. Now if I want to write your epsilon h, so epsilon h is your basically hoop strain, and that will be your circumferential strain, and given by pi times of delta d upon pi times of d is equal to delta d upon d. Okay, so from here we can find our change in diameter of the shell. Okay, given our original diameter. Okay, sure. Now we will see our longitudinal strain. So we can write epsilon 2 is equal to epsilon L is equal to sigma L by E minus mu times of sigma h by E. Okay, and we can write it as equal to, I mean your longitudinal strain is equal to sigma L is your PD by 4T E minus mu times of PD by 2TE. Okay, so from here I will get epsilon A is equal to PD by 4TE times of 1 minus 2 mu. Okay, so this is your strain, longitudinal strain value. Okay, and also your minor principal strain. Okay, now similarly I can write epsilon L as your change in length upon original length. Okay, so from here I can calculate the final dimensions of your cylinder. Okay, now we will talk about your volumetric strain. Okay, volumetric. Now in case of volumetric strain in cylinders, there might be two cases possible. Okay, so let me mention it here. So case 1, if I talk about, so case 1, it is when internal fluid is incompressible. Okay, or let me write it in 2 lines. Okay, so these are 2 cases we will talk about. First is when your internal fluid is incompressible, and the second case is when your internal fluid is compressible. Okay, so if I talk about incompressible fluid, so in that case what happens, there is no change in volume of the fluid. Okay, so there will be only presence of your like elastic expansion of your cell. Okay, so we can write that volume of cylinder is equal to pi by 4 d square L. Okay, so if we differentiate it, so I can write it delta V is equal to pi by 4 times of 2d square times of 2d. Okay, so differentiate 2d times of delta D. Okay, plus d square times of delta L. So this is your differentiation. Okay, I forgot to write L here. Okay, L times of 2d times of delta D. Okay, now if I divide both equations, so what I can get, delta V upon V is equal to delta, or I can write 2 times of delta D by D plus delta L by L. This is what we got. So I can write that volumetric strain is equal to twice of your hoop strain plus longitudinal strain. Okay, and if I substitute the values of your hoop strain and longitudinal strain here, so I will get your epsilon V, that is volumetric strain, is equal to PD by PD by 4TE times of 5 minus 4 mu. Okay, so this is your relation of volumetric strain. Okay, using for your incompressible fluid. Okay, now if I like get an, if there is like presence of your incompressible fluid, so in that case there are 2 things that happens. First is your elastic compression, there two things will happen. First is your elastic compression, expansion, or it may be compression in case your outside fluid pressure is higher than that of your inside cylinder pressure. Okay, elastic expansion of cylinder. Okay, of cylinder. Okay, and the second part is your fluid compression. Okay, now we can write this your elastic expansion cylinder as epsilon V1 is equal to PD by 4TE, we have calculated before, okay, minus 4 nu. Okay, now fluid compression I can write delta V, or from here I can also write that delta V1 is equal to PD by 4TE, sorry, this is PD, into 5 minus 4 mu times of V. Okay, so delta V is written by minus, or epsilon basically your volumetric strain 2 is written as minus P by K. Okay, and from here I will obtain my V2 is equal to minus P by K times of V. Okay, so net volume change, so we can write delta V is equal to delta V1 plus delta V2. From here I can write delta V is equal to PD by 4TE into 5 minus 4 mu times of V minus P by K times of V. Okay, now if I take, let's say, these V's in denominator here, so I can write that epsilon V volumetric strain in case of for your compressible fluid is written as PD by 4TE times of 5 minus 4 mu minus P by K. So this is your relation. Okay, okay, and here K is, of course, K is your bulk modulus, and mu is your Poisson ratio. Okay, now with this we have like completed this part here. Okay, for your strain in cylindrical cell. Okay, now if I talk about, let's say, shear stress, what would be the shear stress, maximum shear stress? So we know that your sigma 1 and sigma 2 are both are your major principal principal stresses, major principal stress, minor principal stress. So using them we can calculate out your maximum shear stress, and tau max will be sigma 1 minus sigma 2 by 2. Okay, let me write it here. So if I want to find maximum shear stress, okay, so maximum shear stress will be your tau max is equal to, we know that tau max is equal to sigma 1 minus sigma 1 by 2, sigma 1 minus sigma 2 by 2, and this can be written as sigma hoop minus sigma longitudinal by 2. Okay, and this can be like derived to PD by 80. Okay, up to here it should be clear. And of course this tau max occurs at 45 degree to planar to sigma h plane or sigma l plane, from both it will be acting at 45 degrees. Okay, now if I talk about tau max but absolute, so we know that it is here like sigma 1 and sigma 2 both will be either positive or either negative. So this should be maximum of maximum values. Okay, so it will be equal to sigma L by 1 by 2, that is sigma H by 2, okay, is equal to PD by 40. Okay, so you can see here that PD by 80, tau max and tau max absolute is PD by 40. So you should like look into the question what is asked, whether it is tau max or tau max absolute. Okay, only then you should move further. So with this we have completed our analysis for spherical shells. Now we will move to with this we have completed our cylindrical shells. Now we will move to our spherical shells, okay, or thin sphere. Okay, now let's say that this is your thin sphere, okay, and this sphere has your diameter of d, has diameter d and thickness t. Okay, so since your like sphere is symmetrical, so your sigma h and sigma l value both are equal. Sigma h is equal to sigma l. Now let's say is equal to sigma. Okay, so of course here pressure P will be acting. Okay, and stress sigma h will be acting here, or let's say sigma will be acting along the circumference. Okay, sigma is acting here. Okay, or this sigma is equal to sigma h is equal to sigma l. Okay, now what I can do, I can write bursting force FB is equal to P into pi by 4 d square. This is your projected area. Okay, and similarly resisting force, if we talk about resisting force, so Fr is equal to sigma into pi dt. Okay, so if we talk about for equilibrium, your FB must be equal to your Fr. Okay, so we can write P into pi by 4 d square is equal to sigma into pi dt. So from here I can write that sigma is equal to PD by 40. Okay, so this is your stress. Okay, okay, this is your stress in case of your thin spheres. Okay, so I can write that my sigma h value is equal to sigma l value is equal to PD by 40. Okay, so from here we can also say that stress in your spherical vessel is half of that of maximum stress in spherical vessels is half of that of your maximum stress in longitude like cylinders. Okay, cylindrical vessels, because there your sigma l value was PD by 2t, and here it is sigma h value was PD by 2t, and here it is PD by 40, so it is half of the value. Okay, now again like there is like no stress on this plane, shear stress on this plane, so we can say that it is a principal plane, or these stresses are principal stresses. Okay, so now if we talk about your strain in sphere, we will move to next topic, that is strain in sphere. Let me strain in spheres. Okay, so there are two types of strain basically occurring here. Okay, so first let's if we talk about your hoop stress or circumferential stress, if it circumferential or your hoop strain. Okay, and second we will talk about your volumetric strains. Volumetric strain. Okay, so we can write your circumferential strain as your epsilon h is equal to epsilon L is equal to sigma h by E minus mu times of sigma h by E. Okay, so I can write as epsilon h is equal to, so, or I can simply write it as epsilon, okay, is equal to PD by 4TE times of 1 minus mu. Okay, so this is your strain, circumferential strain. Okay, and if we talk about your volumetric strain, and of course here we can write epsilon is equal to your delta d by d. We can like calculate the final diameter. And if we talk about volumetric strain, so we know that volume of the sphere is given by pi by 6 d cube. Okay, so we can write change in volume delta V is equal to pi by 6 times of 3 d square times delta d. Okay, so we can find delta V by V is equal to 3 times of delta d by d is equal to 3 times of epsilon. Okay, so we can write volumetric strain is equal to 3 times of hoop strain. Okay, is equal to like 3 times of PD by 4 TE times of 1 minus mu. Okay, so this is your relation, and it was in the case your incompressible fluid is incompressible. Okay, now we know that like if your fluid is incompressible, there is additional term comes, which is your epsilon V is equal to 3 PD by 4 TE into 1 minus mu times of your compression volume of or volumetric compression of volumetric strain due to compression of your inside water or inside fluid. Okay, so this is your when fluid is incompressible. Okay, so we have completed our strain sphere. Now there are some special cases which we will be discussing. Okay, so first case is your stress or stresses in riveted cylindrical cells. So let's say that here is a cylinder. Okay, and let's say this is the end. Okay, and let me remove these portions here, extra portions from here. Okay, now let's say that this is made of your like separate materials. Okay, like separate strips. So let's divide it in your forms of strips. Okay, so these are, let's say, strips. Okay, and to hold them here we you have like installed some rivets. Okay, you have hold some rivets. Okay, now similarly everywhere, but let me draw it here only. Okay, now due to riveting, like along this section, let's say we have considered this section here. So due to riveting in this section, or even let's say it was welding, So let's say this is your longitudinal joint. We know this is your longitudinal joint, and let's say for joining this portion here, this is your circumferential joint. Circumferential joint, let's say it has the efficiency eta h, and longitudinal joint having efficiency eta l. Okay, now if I want to let's say write your stresses in this case, so I will write your sigma l, that is longitudinal stress, is equal to PD by 4T times of your eta h. Okay, longitudinal stress. Longitudinal stress, how we calculate? We create a section in vertical direction. Okay, and in vertical direction your stress is your efficiency is joint is circumferential joint. Okay, so it will be eta h. Similarly, your hoop stress sigma h is denoted by PD by 2T times of epsilon l. Okay, I hope you remember this. This is your stress in riveted cylinders. Now if we consider a cylinder, let's say with your hemispherical ends. So let's say this is your thin cylinder with hemispherical ends. Okay, now let's say this is d is the diameter. Okay, and TC is the thickness of cylindrical part, and TS is the thickness of spherical part. Okay, and this is your internal pressure P, that is acting in all directions. Okay, so we can write these values, some values here, and these are, let's say that if I want to write hoop stress in cylindrical section, so that will be your PD by 2TC. Okay, and longitudinal stress in cylindrical part will be equal to PD by 4TC. Okay, now if I talk about hoop stress in your spherical part, then that will be your PD by 4TS. Okay, and your and this value will be equal to your longitudinal stress in spherical part. Okay, now the design of this type of pressure vessel can be done in your two ways. Okay, first way is your thickness of cylinder, or I can write it as your for same hoop stress. Okay, and second condition maybe like no distortion at junction. Okay, so for same hoop stress, if it means that sigma hoop of your cylindrical section is equal to sigma hoop for your spherical section at this junction here. Okay, so for that I can write it as PD by 2TC is equal to PD by 4TS. Okay, so from here I can write that TC by TS is equal to 2. Okay, so what we can say from here, the thickness of cylindrical part is twice the that of thickness of spherical part. So this part is thick and this part is thinner. We can see it from here that spherical part is thin and your cylindrical part is thick for same hoop stress. Now if I say for no distortion, I will write that hoop stress for our cylindrical part is equal to hoop stress of your spherical part. Okay, and the relation will be as PD by 4TC into E times of 2 minus mu is equal to PD by 4TS times of 1 minus mu. Okay, so from if we solve this, so we will obtain TC by TS is equal to 2 minus mu upon 1 minus mu. Okay, so from here we have obtained that TC is greater than TS, and from here also we can write that TC is greater than TS also, although the relation may vary for both. Okay, but we know that always the thickness for cylindrical part is must be your more than that of thickness of for your spherical section. Okay, now let's say that on your pressure vessels some external forces, axial forces apply, whether it may be your axial pull or axial push. Okay, so in that case how do we calculate your stresses? Now let's consider two type of system. Okay, and both are our vessel with closed ends. Okay, and diameter D and thickness T. Okay, on one we have applied an axial pull of F, and on another we have applied an axial push of magnitude F. Okay, now if I want to calculate your sigma like longitudinal and hoop stress, so in case like your tensile force is applied or axial pull is applied, then what happens that due to your axial pull the applied pressure of internal fluid decreases. Okay, like if you pull it, so what happens, its volume increases, and due to increase in volume your gas or the fluid have more space to move. Okay, and due to it what will happen, our hoop stress will decrease. Okay, sorry, I mean pressure will decrease, and due to change in pressure what will happen, that your value of hoop stress will become negative. So your sigma h here is equal to PD by 2T, and this is your compressive. Okay, now in case of your if there is an axial push, so in that case what happens that due to your push your volume decreases, and due to decrease in volume your pressure inside will rise, and due to this increase in pressure your hoop stress is tensile. Okay, so sigma h is equal to PD by 2T, and this is your tensile. Okay, and this actually pressure we are talking about in with respect to your atmospheric pressure. Okay, now if I talk about your longitudinal stress, so your longitudinal stress in both cases will be your or let's say we consider a section here. So in this if we consider this section here, so what will happen, sigma L will act in your this direction. This is the sigma L, this is your sigma L, and this is your P. Okay, so what we can write, if we equate the forces, so what we will write this F. Now similarly if we do this here, so this F, now here let's say that on this section, so this P will be like this, P pressure. Okay, and again let's say take your sigma L in similar fashion as we have taken earlier. Okay, so we can write that F is equal to sigma L into pi dt minus sigma L into pi dt minus P into pi by 4 d square. Now if we do the equilibrium, so we can write that this force X will be equated by net force on this side, that is sigma L times of pi dt. Okay, now minus, because it is in the opposite direction, P into pi by 4 d square. Okay, so from here we can write that my sigma L is equal to F upon pi dt plus P times of d by 4t. Okay, this is your sigma L. And in case of your here, if we see, so again let's take sigma L in same direction only. Okay, everything will come by, okay, automatically. Sigma L is in this direction and P in, okay, in this direction. So we can write that net force F is equal, this force F will be equal to your P into pi by 4 d square minus sigma L into pi dt. Okay, so we can write from here sigma L is equal to minus F upon pi dt plus Pd by 4t. Okay, so from here what we can see, from both expressions we can absorb some things here. So let me mention it here. Okay, so from both these expressions we can write that our sigma L value is equal to sigma direct plus sigma, this is your longitudinal in case of your original one. Okay, so let's write it as sigma L dash. Okay, or we can write it as sigma L due to pressure alone. Okay, like this. Now this sigma direct might be your positive or negative based on your nature of force. Sure. Okay, so now I hope you understood this point. Okay, so we can from here we can write both in this form only. Okay, now there are compatibility conditions. So what we can write like this strain, if I want to, so I can write that strain, volumetric strain of pressure vessels is equal to volumetric strain of fluid. Okay, and this will be applicable in both cases. Okay, but one thing will differ here. What will differ? That of course your volumetric strain in both cases will be 2 epsilon h plus epsilon L is equal to 2 epsilon h plus epsilon L is equal to. Now in case of your axial pull, it will be P by K. Okay, and in case of your axial push, it should be minus P by K. And why does this happen? Because in this case what happens, your volume, in this case your volume increases. Okay, volume increases means your volumetric strain is positive. Okay, and in this case what happens, your volume of the decreases, and due to decrease in volume your volumetric strain is negative. Okay, so these two relations are here. Okay, sigma h, of course it is also sigma h. Both are in different nature of both are of different nature. Okay, and sigma L according to your type of axial force applicable, or I mean applied. Okay, so with this we have completed this topic of your pressure vessel subjected to axial load. Now moving to next topic. Now we will see delve somewhat into your thick cylinders. Okay, so if we talk about thick cylinders, thick cylinders. So we know that for thick cylinders we have d by t ratio less than equal to 20. Okay, now for analysis of your thick cylinder, is done using your Lehm's theorem. Okay, done using your Lehm's theorem. Okay, but before analysis, let's look into what are different stresses acting in your thick cylinders. Okay, so let's remove this first. So let's talk about the different stresses in your thick cylinder. Thick cylinders. Okay, so first stress is your longitudinal stress. Okay, and it is represented by your sigma L, and is tensile in nature, and tensile and uniform. Okay, and if you want to, let's show it. So let's consider this section. Okay, so your sigma L will be represented by like this. Okay, so at this section, this is a sigma L. Sigma L value is constant. Okay, now second type of your stress that is acting, second type is your hoop stress or circumferential stress. Okay, so hoop stress, it is represented by your sigma H and is tensile in nature, and your hyperbolic. Well, let me mention it here. Sigma H, this is your tensile and hyperbolic. Okay, so it can be represented like this. So if this is your thick cylinder, so this here is your radius Ri, and this is your radius R node. Okay, so variation will be like this. So variation with radius, if I want to talk about, so it will be maximum at the inner section. Okay, and minimum at the outer section. Okay, and the variation will be like this. Okay, hyperbolic. Okay, this value here is maximum, and the value at outer surface is minimum. Okay, and now if I talk about third type of stress, that is your radial stress. It is shown by your either sigma R or your px. Okay, and it is it can be drawn as Let's take this same figure here. Okay. And one more thing, this radial stress is your compressive and hyperbolic. Okay, and the variation is given by, it is its value is maximum at your inner radius, okay, and 0 at outer radius. Okay, it is like this, negative value, okay, and variation like this. Okay, and this is your atmospheric pressure, or also 0. This pressure is P, that is internal pressure, and this value also maximum. Okay, now of course the curve is your hyperbolic. So these are three type of stresses. Now if I want to calculate the stresses, so let's start with the analysis of thick cylinder. Sorry. So if I talk about the stress like analysis, so first let's talk about the longitudinal stress. Longitudinal stress, that is your sigma L. Okay, now so this is your cross section. Okay, and if I talk about your type of cylinder, so it should be something like this. Your front view should be something like this. Okay, and inner, okay, this radius is, so this is the center line. Okay, this radius is your Ri, and this radius is your R node, and pressure P inside. Okay, acting in all directions. Okay, so this is your cylinder. Now this cylinder does have your length L, but that won't be useful here. Let's proceed. So if I want to calculate this like longitudinal stress, so consider an section here. Okay, and longitudinal stress will be acting like this, sigma L. So I can write that this sigma L will be like equivalent to your pressure inside. So we can write bursting force FB, like FB is equal to FR, or let me write it here, bursting force is equal to resisting force. Okay, now this bursting force is your P into pi Ri square. Okay, and this will be equal to sigma L into pi times of R node square minus Ri square. This is your this area of outer section. Okay, this area, this complete area. Okay, so if from here I can write my sigma L value. Sigma L is equal to P Ri square divided by R node square minus Ri square. This is your sigma L value, longitudinal stress. Okay, now at both ends, if we can see this, so at both ends will be your open end. Like if your both ends are open, so in that case what will happen, your sigma will be L will be 0, because why? Like in case of pipe, if you take a section, so then both side of pipe, both end of pipe are your open. So in that case there won't be resisting force P acting on the walls here. Okay, so for those cases your longitudinal stress is equal to 0. Okay, now let's talk about the second type of stress, that is your hoop stress. hoop stress or circumferential stress, okay, also written by sigma h. Okay, now this hoop stress and radial stress, after which we will be studying after dias, both are given using your Lehm's equation, okay, and will also known as your Lehm's theorem. Now for this, how we write it? So okay, let's write it together. Hoop stress and radial stress. Radial stress. This is your either denoted by sigma r or px. Okay. So how to write this? So for this, let's consider an concentric circle. Okay, and we will select an element or a plane at a distance x. Okay, so we write your hoop stress, that is your sigma x. Let's write it sigma h at, or let's write it as sigma x because it is varying with your x. Okay, so we can write sigma x is equal to b by x square plus a. Okay, and we can write your radial stress px is equal to b by x square minus a. Okay, and if we talk about the value of both a and b, so let me make a table here. So I will be writing here under internal pressure, okay, and here external pressure, okay, and I will be talking about value of a and b. Okay, so value of a under a and b under internal pressure are both are positive, okay, and under external pressure both values are negative. Okay, so if we use these values here, so we generally get your sigma x, this value, as your tensile, as I mentioned you earlier. Okay, and this value is your compressive. Okay, so this is your relation of pressure, I mean radial stress and hoop stress. Now let's talk about how to calculate these values of a and b. Okay, so in the next topic we will talk about determination of a and b values. Okay, so for this what we will do, like we know that in case of radial stress, for radial stress we know that px is equal to p at your x is equal to ri. Okay, and px is equal to 0 at your x is equal to r node. Okay, and we know that px is given by b by x square minus a. Okay, so we substitute the values here. So like if we substitute the first condition, so let's say this is first condition, this is the second condition. Okay, so from first condition what we will obtain, we will obtain p is equal to b by ri square minus a. Okay, and from second condition what we will obtain, 0 is equal to b by r naught square minus a. Okay, and using if we use both equations, let's subtract both equations. So from here we will obtain our b is equal to p times of Ri square R naught square divided by R naught square minus Ri square. Okay, and from using one of from here we can also find A, that is your R naught square upon, or sorry, Ri square upon R naught square minus Ri square, and that is of course P times. Okay, these are values A and B. Okay, so this is how to calculate your A and B values. Now like if we add your both of these equations from here, what we will obtain? We will obtain your, let's say if we add sigma x plus px, so we will get your term as 2a. Okay, so let's say if we if we subtract both these terms, what will happen? B by x square will be like obsoleted, and only a and minus of minus a will remain, that is 2a. Okay, so from here what we can write? From here we can write that my sigma x value is equal to px plus 2a. Okay, from here we can conclude some inferences about your like Hooke stress values. Okay, so we can say that your sigma x at x is equal to Ri, that is inner surface, will be your equal to value. What will be the value? Like px inner surface is equal to P internal pressure plus 2a. Okay, and we can say that sigma x at the rate x is equal to R naught, that is outer value. What will be? Like outer value px is equal to 0, so this value will be equal to 2a. Okay, so we have written this. Okay, okay, so this we have talking about. Okay, so let me put on a heading here. I forgot to mention heading, that is analysis of your thick cylinders. Okay, so let me mention them here. So this is our analysis of thick cylinders. Okay, now we will move to analysis of thick spheres. Okay, analysis of thick spheres. So if we talk about spheres, so your Lamb's equation for a sphere changes. Okay, so for spheres, your sigma L or sigma H, sigma L is equal to sigma H, and this value is equal to what we generally write your sigma x. Okay, and this is given by B by x cube plus a. Okay, like in case of your cylinders, it was your hyperbolic equation. Here it is not hyperbolic. Here, like there it was x squared, now here it is x cube. Okay, and similarly your px, that is radial stress, px is given by 2b by x cube minus a. Now this is your tensile in nature, and this is a compressive. Okay, so like all the analysis will be similar as we have done in your thick cylinder cases. Okay, so only like important point was what is the Lamb's equation. Okay, so this is your Lamb's equation. Now if we talk about designing of your pressure vessel, so design of pressure vessels. Okay, so first we will talk about your thin cylinders. Okay, so let's say in question it is asked what is the minimum thickness required to withstand the given fluid pressure. Okay, so what we can write, that your sigma we know that sigma permissible is written as your yield stress sigma y upon factor of safety. Okay, now we know that for thin cylinders what happens, your sigma h value is greater than rate of sigma L. Okay, so your sigma 1 that is equal to your sigma h, okay, and this value which is equal to your PD by 2T is maximum value, okay, and this values that is sigma 1 must be less than equal to like principal, according to maximum principal stress theory by MPST. Your sigma 1 value must be less than equal to your sigma permissible, okay, and sigma, this value is PD by 2T, must be less than equal to sigma permissible. So from here we can calculate the value of T. Thickness must be greater than equal to your PD by 2 times of sigma permissible, okay, and from here we can also write that T minimum is equal to PD by 2 times of sigma permissible, okay. So this is about thin cylinders. Now if I talk about thin spheres, okay. So if we talk about thin spheres, so we know that our stress sigma h is equal to sigma L is given by your PD by 4T, okay. So I can write that according to maximum principal stress theory, I can write that my, or this is also equal to sigma 1, okay. So sigma 1 must be less than equal to your sigma permissible, and from here I will write PD by 4T must be less than equal to sigma permissible. So T must be greater than equal to PD by 4 times of sigma permissible, okay, and so T minimum is equal to PD by 4 sigma permissible. So we can see from here also that your thickness for your spherical vessels are half as that of your cylindrical vessels, okay. Now if we talk about thick cylinders, that is our third case. So for thick cylinders, we know, or you should remember basically, that hoop stress is greater than that of radial stress is greater than that of your longitudinal stress. This is a very important point, okay. Now we can say that your sigma 1, from here we can say that sigma 1 is equal to sigma h, okay, and we can write according to maximum principal stress theory that sigma 1 value must be less than equal to sigma permissible, okay, and again our analysis will be going on, okay. So with this we will be concluding our chapter pressure vessels, okay. So thank you.